What's going on, everybody? I hope you guys have been staying safe and doing well since the last time I posted. I'm out and about today, so I figured I'd just shoot this one in the car because I wanted to give you guys something today. Now, I wanted to talk about the death penalty again. You know, you guys know I've talked about the death penalty in the past. Oh, sorry, the music's too loud. I've talked about the death penalty in the past, talked about my opinions on it, but I feel like I haven't talked about a lot of modern cases when it comes to the death penalty. I've talked about how my opinions changed on the death penalty. I think I've talked about a couple older cases like Ted Bundy, Eileen Wuornos, things of that nature that I have, I've talked about. But I don't think I've given you, I could be wrong because I could be misremembering here. I don't think I've given you a modern example of someone I believe who deserves the death penalty. And so today I wanted to give you that example of someone who just received the death penalty, who I absolutely believe deserves the death penalty. So if you haven't heard of him, his name is Tanner Horner. Now I'll give you just the briefest of rundown so you know what I'm talking about here. This case happened in Texas, and he just pled guilty, and he just received the death penalty. Tanner Horner kidnapped and unalived, let's just say, a 7-year-old girl who I believe was in her driveway. I could be wrong, she may have been in the front yard or something like that. But she was on a property, he kidnapped her and unalived her. Now, when I think of cases like this is a prime example of someone who I believe not only deserves the death penalty, but deserves that death penalty where I was talking about how I believe people who receive the death penalty should suffer. Now, you could call me harsh, you could call me all sorts of things, but I believe this is a prime case for what I've talked about in the past of people who receive the death penalty shouldn't have an easy death penalty. They shouldn't get an injection to kill them. They shouldn't get a firing squad that stops their heart immediately. They should be, I don't want to say the word tortured because that's not the right word here, but you get what I'm getting at. They should be in pain in those last moments and seconds of their death, in my opinion, because maybe if they experience emotionally, physically, maybe even a smidgen of what their victim experienced in their final moments of you taking their life, I believe that's then warranted. Now, in a case like this, I can't understand the anti-death penalty advocates who will advocate for a guy like Tanner Horner to suspend life in prison. They're like, oh, spending life in prison is worse. It's worse to receive life than death because you have to think about you being in prison all the time, and that part of that might be true. But the thing is, the state's still taking care of you, right? Let's just say you live for an extra 50 years. That's an extra 50 years of them clothing you, them housing you, you being a burden on the taxpayer when you don't deserve to be breathing. You don't deserve to be living. You don't deserve to be living even inside of a prison. Because we can talk about prison politics here, but you guys know as well as I do that a guy like Tanner Horner, if he spent life in prison, he'd either be segregated because they would know the other prisoners would harm him, or he'd be at the bottom of the prison hierarchy, because we know that guys like Tanner will be at the bottom of the prison hierarchy no matter what prison he goes to, because we can talk all about inmate and prison politics all day, but the fact of the matter is that when it comes to messing with children, you're nothing to them. So I would argue that his life would inevitably be worse when it comes to that, but his life wouldn't be worse at the same time, if that makes any sense. It's like a back and forth. Like, his life would be worse than it was on the outside is what I'm getting at here, because he's in prison, he's at the bottom of the hierarchy, but he still gets the privilege of living. He doesn't deserve the privilege of living, even within the prison system, and having the prison system take care of him. Those are just my thoughts on this case. Let me know in the comments below. Do you believe this guy should be executed? What do you think about that? And until next time, guys, have fun and stay safe.